I am delighted to be sitting with Phil Rohkohl right now. If you haven't met him, Phil is the superstar that has made it possible for all of Unity of El Cajon to be available to you online through YouTube, through the bulletin. He's been handling all of the sound, all of the cameras. He's done an amazing job. And as we are preparing for the World Day of Prayer, Phil's been doing all the interviews, getting them set and ready to go, and looking at the topic. And I have had the pleasure of chatting with him. And Phil, thank you for agreeing to the interview. In talking to you, you have a little bit different way of looking at fear and faith. And I wonder if you would kind of explain where you're coming from on that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I have a lot of help, really, so it's not just me, but I've enjoyed the work. I've enjoyed the opportunity. My take on fear and faith is that I think feelings are the way that the source, God, the Father, however you want to look at it, communicates with us, talks to us, directs us, persuades us to go in a direction or do something different. And fear, for me, is when God is telling me, pay attention, look at this, learn something. One of the authors that I enjoy reading, Dr. DeMartini, talks about fear in terms of you can only have fear of things that you don't know. It has to come from the unknown. And so to me, when I feel fear, I tend to focus. I think that God's trying to tell me, hey, pay attention. If it's a lot of fear, if it's something, a traffic situation, obviously it requires a lot of focus right now. If it's something that over time, some of the effects of COVID, every Sunday I walk out of the church with about 4 hours of video on various forums, and I have some fear that maybe something went wrong. When we do that videotaping, we're capturing a moment in time. It will never happen again. We can go back and try and do something again. We can do something different. But that moment in time will never happen again. And if something went wrong, it's lost. And we often do have problems. We've had equipment problems. We've had, people in the wrong position and those kind of things, right? So when I get it back to my computer and I start looking at it, I have to start working with it and I have to start figuring it out. And this has definitely been a divine path. This is something that, my wife Becky, who manages the website for the church, she said to me one day, I'd really like to get the services on the website. I said, I could probably figure that out. They have a camera and stuff. Well, we'll talk to them about it and see what we can do. And the next thing I'm doing what we're doing today, and I have no experience with this. So, my fears have been, can I do this? Can I figure this out? Can I solve some of the problems that come up as we go? And, to me, that's just all God telling me, this is where I want you right now. This is what I want you looking at. This is what I want you to learn. It's not a panic kind of fear right now. It's just you need to devote some time. You need to stay focused. Watch the YouTube videos. Experiment, do things, and learn it, because I've got something for you to do here. And that's the faith part of it for me.
It sounds like you're almost a master already in transmuting fear into faith. And if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that fear is just another way for your higher power to get your attention and say, look at this, be here now, focus.
Absolutely. And I think, in a very similar way, I think I have feelings of attraction to things. And, as long as I'm honest about those feelings, as long as I can stay real about them and not turn them into things that society might push me into, whatever, then that's, to me, that's God saying, I want you to move toward this. There are things that I find more repulsive, not repulsive in a ooh yuck kind of way, but they push me away, right? They're not, I'm just not excited about that. And that's God saying, no, not that direction. I really love the quote, whether you look to the left or you look to the right, you'll hear the voice saying, this is the way, walk in it. And to me, that's what feelings are, right? I can look in any direction and I can have feelings about what I see. And I'll hear that voice. And fear is just one of those feelings. And it's the feeling for me that says, hey, come here, look at this one, look over here. You don't know what this is about. And I guess, a metaphor that I have for it is it's kind of like crossing a body of water in a small boat, say a canoe or something, right? And on one shore, there's fear. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can get across. I don't know what obstacles I'm going to run into. There's a lot of unknowns. And out of those unknowns, as DeMartini would say, I would find fear. The boat is kind of the faith, right? I get in the boat and I start rowing and I just know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is going to carry me across. It's going to help me work around the obstacles. And that's going to teach me something. I'm going to learn how to deal with those obstacles. And when I get to the other side, then there's sort of knowledge. And another way that I think of that is, then there's God. Because that's what he wanted me to get to begin with, right? That's why the fear showed up, so that I would float across this body of water and end up in this place where he wanted me. Which, in this case, in the case of the video work that we're doing, it's to discover this opportunity, to bring this to kids, to bring this to our teenagers, and to offer them opportunities for job experience and stuff. It's to help Unity of El Cajon spread their message even further than they've ever been able to. It's to help us all get through COVID and that whole situation. And, so to me, I've had a lot of fear about COVID and, not just the disease, but the economic potential of it and some of the limitations and, and the issues that we have with the 5 kids and schooling. And there's lots of things to be fearful of. But as we focus on it and we move through it and we take the learning that God's providing by giving, or at least for me, by giving me this fear, the things that have come out of it are wonderful. Deepak Chopra does a wonderful discussion a wonderful talk on coincidence. He talks about this trip he took and just all of the things that went wrong one after the other, and how every time something went wrong, something else happened and it turned into a better thing than it would have been. And that's, this whole journey with the videotaping and everything has been exactly that, right? I mean, we started out with all this equipment problems and stuff, and we've learned so much about that and been able to do so much more with what we have. We started out with just wanting to put some videos on the website, and then COVID came along and pushed us into doing this other thing that's had so much value, and it's been so interesting, and it's really been wonderful in spite of the fear that drove us to it.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Phil. Really appreciate it. I love your metaphor.
Yeah, you're very welcome.